Hi, this is attorney and Harvard Business School startup coach Bob Diamond. Do you want to escape the rat race? I know I did. I was on a really traditional career path. My first job out of college was for a large accounting firm named Arthur Andersen doing business consulting. Then I went to Coopers & Lybrand, which was another big accounting firm, before going to law school and ending up in a 600 lawyer law firm. Now, I didn't find happiness or satisfaction at those large firms. So I really gave it a lot of thought. And after quite a bit of work, I found my feet under me as an entrepreneur. It's a much, much better life. And I don't regret leaving the corporate world behind for even a second. In large organizations, it's often more important whether your boss likes you and how you play the political game rather than the actual quality or quantity of your work. And while the myth is that the corporate world is the safe route, I'm not buying it. Companies lay off and fire perfectly good employees who may have been at the company for many years just because their boss leaves and now the employee is out with a new boss, or because young employees are available for half the cost and an employee in his or her 50s is out the door with little chance of getting hired by another firm simply due to their age. It's absolutely soul-crushing in its inhumanity. But the good news is that I promise there is a pathway to prosperity for you. It does not have to involve office politics and the hope that you can scrape and scrabble your way to the top of the corporate ladder. Do you have to worry if you're tossed off the ladder and wondering if that's the end for you? That is not at all necessary. If you take the right actions, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I escaped the corporate employee rat race and how you can escape it too. And for me, my final straw was when a partner at the law firm I was working for took credit for a client relationship that I'd spent 2 years building. He lied to my face and to his partners, claiming he'd built the relationship, he owned the relationship, and thus he should get the credit. Now that client relationship would have multiplied my income and put me on the fast track to partner at the firm. But the thief was attempting to take that all away, and frankly, when I thought about it, he fit in with the other partners who were not at all people that I admired or wanted to be like. And it was that very moment that I realized that my time at that law firm was over, and it was time for me to move on. I had an offer to join a brilliant lawyer at a new firm, but I realized that I simply wasn't finding joy or happiness in the practice of law, and frankly, all the lawyers that I knew pretty much all wanted to be doing something other than practicing law. So I thought to myself, why am I pursuing a career where everyone I see wants to be doing something else? So I decided, yes, it was time to move on. It wasn't easy, as I was making a solid 6-figure salary and I had the comfort of steady pay. But sometimes to get what you want, you need to make radical and sometimes frightening change. So I did it. I went out on my own, determined to leave the practice of law behind and find a new niche for myself. I cut my expenses to a minimum, and I kept a very small law practice going on the side just to pay the month-to-month bills. But while that was paying the bills, I worked really hard on finding a business that I could do without having to have a boss or fit in as a corporate employee. So first I tried fixing and flipping houses, which I actually enjoyed very much, but finding houses cheap enough to buy, flip, and make a profit was really hard. And as I learned, finding houses cheaply enough to flip was the prime difficulty for everybody in the fix and flip business. But I did manage to find houses that I could flip on a small scale, meaning a few houses a year. And many of those houses I acquired at mortgage and tax foreclosure auctions, which was really fun, but there was always a sad story for each house lost. And sometimes I had to evict the former owners, which is really sad and really something I didn't like at all. I didn't like being the sharp end of the spear, just pushing someone out of their house. No, wasn't for me. So in the end, I made some money. And in fact, in 2 or 3 deals a year, I'd make what I made in a year as a lawyer at a large law firm. But I didn't like evicting people, and I really wished that I could help them rather than evict them. So I kept looking for a business that was right for me. And I found my answer in this little known, but truly simple business that I used my legal skills and real estate knowledge to develop. And best of all, it's a business where I was able to make a lot of money, and it was scalable. I mean, I could make it large to make a lot of money. And best of all, I got to help people rather than being the guy forcing them out of their house. Because I think a business where you help people and make money is the best kind of business. The business I do today, in which you can also do if you want, is called tax overages. It's completely replaced my big law firm job income. And in fact, what I make today is many multiples of what I made at a large law firm. And today I make more than most partners at law firms, with far less work and enjoying every day because the work I do is meaningful and I get to help my clients. And this is a business that you can do also. You don't need to be a lawyer. This is a straightforward business that really just requires you to understand 5 simple steps and then do them in order to succeed. Now you're probably wondering, what on earth are overages? Well, as a business, it's the business of helping people who've lost a home to foreclosure get back a refund of monies left over from the foreclosure sale. Now I know that may seem odd, but let me explain. It's really simple when you have a short explanation. When a house is sold at a foreclosure sale, if the house sells for more than the debt that is due, the excess money that's not needed to pay the debt is available for the former owner to claim. For example, let's say that a homeowner owes $45,000 in real estate taxes and their house sells for $100,000 at the tax foreclosure auction. The foreclosing agency receives $100,000 from the successful bidder at the tax sale, and then the agency uses $45,000 to pay the taxes. That leaves $55,000 left in the agency's bank account because they only needed $45,000 of $100,000 received to pay the real estate tax debt. Now, of course, there are some expenses to be paid, auctioneer's fees, advertising fees, etc., but those are typically pretty modest, maybe 5 or 6% of the sale price. And those costs are going to be deducted before the actual exact amount of leftover monies are calculated. So let's say, for the sake of keeping the math simple, those costs total $5,000. So the leftover funds we have are $50,000. That's because the agency collected $100,000 from the successful bidder at tax sale, paid $45,000 to the real estate tax collector, and kept $5,000 for auctioneer's commission and costs to hold the tax foreclosure auction. $100,000 minus $45,000 minus $5,000 leaves $50,000 left over. Now those leftover monies go by a few different names. You're going to hear the terms overages, excess funds, overbids, and a few others depending which state you're looking at. So hopefully you're following me so far. The house sells for more than the tax debt and more than the cost to sell it, so the extra money is sitting in the agency's bank account. Now in order to actually get that money, the former owner has to go and apply for the funds. That means they have to fill in a formal application, turn it in, and follow through with the process, such as providing a copy of their government ID, answering any questions, and dealing with any bureaucratic requirements. It's truly not hard, but understanding the process, the players, and timely follow through is absolutely necessary. And if the person who is supposed to apply for the funds either never applies, which is common because most of the people who lose their home at a tax sale have no idea that there could be any funds available, or if they fail to follow through, then ultimately the government will keep the money. And in most states, there's a deadline which is referred to as an escheatment deadline, which is the deadline to apply for the funds. If the former owner does not apply by that escheatment deadline, then the funds are lost and lost to the government forever. Now, the escheatment deadline's by state, so part of the work that I had to do when I was starting this business in 2013 was to do the legal research in every state to understand how their tax foreclosure process worked, what the escheatment deadlines were in each state, and how to apply for the funds in each state. That was many, many hours of work, and I'm really glad that I'm an attorney so that I could do that work, much of which was legal research, rather than paying attorneys hundreds of dollars per hour for hundreds of hours of work. I ended up putting together what is certainly the leading 50-state reference guide that I give to my students so they can know at a glance how each and every state works, even down to every little detail, like who has the list of funds being held in that state, exactly how long the former owner has to apply for the funds, exactly how you fill in the forms, and any special considerations for working in that state, without my students having to hire an attorney or do legal research on their own. So the business of overages is straightforward. Step 1, get a list of the people owed monies. And that looks like these. I pulled a list or two just so you can see them. Here's an example. And I added the blue, by the way, just so that you could easily pick out what the monies were. And if I look at this list, and I'll put it up on the screen for you. First one, $117,867 owed to Cassandra Taylor, $54,000 to John Freytag, estate of Richard Rogers, $41,000. You go down this list, and this list, if you total it up, totals $540,450. And this is from one county in the United States. There are 3,007 counties and county equivalents, so just one of many. Here's another list. This one with the green. This one, $11,293,320. Top one, to Yu Chen Wei, $425,000 that Yu-Chan is owed. It's absolutely crazy. And I have another list, which is even more exciting in a way. This list has $32,927,255. It's $32 million. Think about that. Crazy. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can see it on the list. And what you do is you pick the ones that you want to go after. And as you can see, there are overages in all kinds of dollar amounts. The ones that we work on are typically tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars.